Hey everybody, it's Dr. Lee coming from the Fortress of Solitude. This is part 2 of a little research review. I've been pouring through the research these last few weeks, and I wanted to bring you all the latest and greatest info all about chiropractic. But I'll tell you what, a lot of this is not the latest info. We've known some of this stuff for as old as I am, 46 years. And information does change over time, but the base tenets of health and how the body functions, we've been understanding this for a very long time. And so we want to really understand in depth why it is that the body does break down and how it is that we can help it heal, and not only just wait till there's a problem, but also foster wellness from the beginning. So we look at birth. One of these studies talks about, and this was a pathologist in Boston, Massachusetts, that published this article about the real cause of demise is not diseases, but it's the spinal stress that happens at birth, robbing people of innate potential for a long and healthy and happy life. And he found that if there's strain or tension on the spinal cord, it can affect a child, and they'll have less optimal physical, mental, and social well-being. And that can change how somebody grows from then on. So we really look to birth as the first time to start getting adjusted and stay under wellness chiropractic care, not just waiting until, I'm hurting as a 20, 30, 40-year-old. So one great study that Hannon did back in the early 2000s that was published in JMPT, this showed the health benefits of chiropractic care in asymptomatic, meaning non-painful presentations, somebody coming in for wellness care to stay well. They found statistical improvements in so many things. I know this is backwards, so you can't read it, so I'm just going to summarize real quick. Respiration, motion, heart rate variability, autonomic function, that's all the automatic activities of the organs, cells, and tissues of the body. Cell function, cardiovascular function, hormone regulation, immune function, muscle strength, athletic ability, neurocognitive activity and function, reaction time, vision. Your vision gets better? Yes, it can. Healing time, stress reduces, recovery time after trauma, and general health in all ages. They also found reduced labor time in people that were pregnant. So all sorts of great asymptomatic results of chiropractic care. Then in early days of research in osteopathy and chiropractic back in the 70s, spinal cord is an organizer of disease process. What does that mean? It actually is related to hyperactivity of sympathetic nerves. What are the sympathetic nerves? They're between T1 and L2. That's like up here right underneath the neck, all the way down to the low back. Those make up the fight or flight system, the sympathetic nerves. Well, if there's an overactivity of sympathetic nerves because of misalignment, and we're stuck in this like curved posture sitting at our desks all day, that's going to affect and cause disease. This was Dr. Kaur. He said there was just one cause of disease, too much or too little of that sympathetic activity. And so the NIH and the U.S. National Library of Medicine also published information in this area as well. And again, in the 70s, a Journal of Immunology showed that spinal motion, lack of spinal motion, results in reduced autonomic, meaning cell, organ, and tissue function. And it also resulted in a problem regulating the sympathetics, meaning dealing with the stress results of being out of alignment. So what does that happen when the sympathetic tone or the sympathetic nervous system is always up? That means you're in fight or flight all the time. Well, what don't you need when you're fighting a bear, typically? You need to run. You need to save yourself. You don't need to digest the food. You don't need to fight off the snot and sniffle that just came on. So the immune system, the gastrointestinal system, reproductive system, rest and repair, all gets put away until you fight and finish off the bear or run away from it. So what happens? Decreased gastro, decreased immune. We know this over time. Chronic stress response because of misalignment causes those things to reduce. So they found in this Journal of Osteopathy, spinal adjusting significantly reduces the sympathetic tone and sympathetic response. Here's another one, very timely article, Mechanobiology and Diseases of Mechanotransduction, Annals of Medicine, 2003. So for 17 years we've known this. The mechanics of the spine, the biomechanics, the movement and position, alignment of the spine changes the molecular basis of the cell. Meaning, you put extra force on a joint, the cells and genetic expression of those cells, meaning how they replicate new cells, is going to change. So you're changing your DNA by being misaligned. And you're changing your DNA by getting the misalignments corrected. So you get adjusted, you're actually changing your future. How awesome is that? And we've known this for almost 20 years. So, dude, chiropractic is so awesome. Just so awesome. So Journal of Pharmacology 2009, Johns Hopkins University published this one. Increased sympathetic tone. Again, sympathetic distress, meaning the sympathetic nerves are being irritated by misalignment in the mid-back. It results in a rise in serum norepinephrine. You know, we talked about cortisol last week a lot in our podcast, Chronic Health. If you haven't checked that out, it's on our Facebook page, and it's also on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. It's called Chronic Health. We talk about stress response, and we talk about cortisol. But what else happens when you're in stress? Cortisol, epinephrine, norepinephrine, adrenaline, all these chemicals are released in the body to help you fight off a bear. But what happens when the bear's not there and you're just stressed about life, or you're misaligned and it perpetuates the stress response? Well, increase of serum norepinephrine. They measured this and they found that serum norepinephrine in abundance over amounts that you don't need is associated to increased cancer, autoimmune issues, asthma, infections, arrhythmia of the heart, atherosclerosis. You know what that is? It's plaquing of the vessels, which can cause heart disease, which can cause death. Chiropractic care causes the mechanical input, which helps reduce stress chemicals, meaning epinephrine, norepinephrine, and cortisol. That allows the body to heal. It increases that immune response too, because when stress is up, immune's down. So we're actually affecting so much more than just like, ow, I feel better, or ow, I hurt. We're doing so much more. Well, what about posture? They did studies on this 2 different times. I mean, many more than that, but these are the 2 published. Posture predicts mortality. They found in 2004 that you die sooner when your posture is bad. I mean, just if we look at posture alone as a indication of health, just by looking at someone, the posture is going to affect their longevity. They also found respiratory modulation and autonomic function are impaired. That means breathing and organ health are impaired by being misaligned. And getting them adjusted is healthy to enhance breathing, musculoskeletal function, balance in general, vocal ability. Who knew being misaligned is going to affect your ability to speak or sing or yell? That's more the case in my house. But like a lot of people that I take care of that are singers, because the lower part of the neck controls the vocal cords and the throat, and because you can get better breathing when you get the mid-back and the upper back adjusted, less irritation to the lungs and better power for the vocal cords. How awesome is that? So Dr. Bragg, neurosurgeon, in 70s found if you lose the cervical curve, meaning the neck goes forward and we lose the proper curve in the neck, you're stretching the spinal cord 5 to 7 centimeters. That was published in the Clinical Neurophysiology Journal. I'm sure you've all read it. 5 to 7 centimeters is 2 to 3 inches. Do you understand that that is not a stretchable device? That's not like the muscles. Let's go stretch the spinal cord like a muscle. No. When you stretch the spinal cord, it changes signaling from the brain to everything else. Why would we want to do that? Well, let's correct it. That's what we do here. We're correcting that. And that's just the tip of the iceberg of what chiropractic does. Can you have nerve interference without degenerative disease, meaning without arthritis? Well, a lot of people want to know that. Well, I don't feel a problem, so I guess I'm fine. Well, symptoms don't tell us how we're doing. Symptoms tell us when there's a big train wreck happening. So this tells us pre-spondylosis, meaning pre-arthritis, causes nerves to be super sensitive. I did not write that, so that's not like technical terminology, but this is back in 1980. This is not new. It's 40 years almost, right? Pain is determined by neurological properties of receptor organs, which means when the receptors are irritated by misalignment, mechanical pressure being misaligned or subluxated is what we call that, it's going to affect the way the body works. And the central nervous system cannot communicate properly. And they found this. Before you have a pain, it deranges impulses from the brain to the organ and from the organ to the brain. It affects it, changes it, alters it, and makes it not happy and unhealthy. So what do we got to do? We got to correct it before the problem happens. It's the easy part. Awesome study they did in the 90s. This is the biggest study in chiropractic care to date. 2,800 patients plus were followed from 3 months through 3 years. This is the largest study ever, and they published in the Journal of Alternative and Complementary Medicine. They found the most significant results were huge benefit regarding physical and mental health early on, like even a month into chiropractic care, but they found clinical improvements across the board in all sorts of wellness measures, serum thiol, all sorts of respiratory function, like I talked before, visual acuity, mental, all the important things to us, you know, being well, not just feeling well, but being well and being healthy, were all improved, and there was no maximum benefit, meaning it never stopped getting better. And throughout the study, people just kept breaking records. And that's what I want for you. Keep breaking records in your health. Stay well, not just get well. Correct the cause, not wait for the train wreck to happen. Take care of this from baby on up to adult baby. So throughout life, you know, we start at the beginning because I'm trained specifically to take care of babies, toddlers, little kids, big kids, adults. We're all very similar in makeup. We just have different application and different history. So I'm going to tailor the care to that person specifically. Obviously, a baby adjustment's way different than an adult adjustment, but for the same reason. I want to keep the brain and body connected. I want to keep the immune system strong. I want to keep the health of that individual optimal. And that's the goal of chiropractic care, especially in this office, Greystone Chiropractic. Hey guys, I'm really excited to talk to you on my little break time in between seeing patients. If you have more questions about this or would like to see some of these studies, nerd out with me. We can either Zoom or I'll just send you emails with all this great information. You can pour through it like I do in the middle of the night or early in the morning, like 4:30 in the morning when I wake up. If you haven't been in a while, or if you're new to us, call us 205-981-8090. Join me in the Fortress of Solitude next week when I'll come to you with part 3 of what's awesome about chiropractic. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.